Welcome to Watches with Dennis, and today I am reviewing the Oris ProPilot X Calibre 400, reference 01-400-7778-7153-07-720-01 TLC. This watch is from my personal collection. It was purchased used, and I've owned it a week at this point. Oris rolled out 3 versions of the ProPilot X Calibre 400 in 2022, and this is one of those iterations. While in some ways, name included, it's a continuation of the ProPilot series, there are some serious deviations in this package that really question the categorization of it as a pilot's watch, but I'll touch on that more at the end of this video. Before going any further, you can see I already have part of the bracelet detached because I want to go ahead and take some quick measurements. You get a diameter of about 39.3 millimeters. It's advertised as a 39 millimeter watch. Lug to lug, I'm getting 47 millimeters. Watch thickness, I'm getting 12 millimeters. And lug to lug, I'm getting 19.5 millimeters. I should note, Oris's website does advertise this lug width as 20 millimeters. Obviously, I'm not getting that, though that's probably the size of a cloth strap that you would end up using, given how this is shaped. The watch features 100 meters of water resistance. If one word were to describe this watch, it would have to be industrial. There are no polished surfaces. Everything has a matte look. The bezel has these angled cuts to it, which are to mimic a jet turbine and give the watch a far more aggressive look than, say, a traditional coin-edged bezel might. The case sides go straight down, but you can see that the lug tips slope downward. So we've got some angles going on here. The tops of the lugs are flat. The watch case is made out of grade 2 titanium, as is the bracelet. You can see that the bracelet features quite angular links, which really do allow it to play with the light quite well, albeit in a somewhat muted way given that the bracelet is a brushed titanium metal. Sadly, there is no micro adjust on this bracelet clasp, so some people may struggle in terms of sizing. Since the links aren't particularly large, I was able to get a good fit for myself, but your mileage may vary. The clasp is surprisingly chunky compared to the rest of the bracelet. You can see it's mimicking a passenger airline seatbelt and has the lift label to go ahead and release it. At the 3 o'clock position, you can see the watch has a signed crown. There are grooves cut into the crown, which helps with gripping it. The crown's also quite large, which also helps with gripping a hold of it. The watch does have some fairly small crown guards, however. Moving on to the watch dial, which is protected by a sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating on the inside, you can see we have something far more muted and arguably sterile compared to the aggressive nature of the watch case. The dial is a matte gray, which matches quite well in my opinion with the grade 2 titanium casework. The watch markings are black, and you can see at the 6 o'clock position we do have a date window, which is black, so it's not color matched to the dial, which I would personally prefer. Speaking of those indices, you can see that we have double stick markers at the 12 o'clock position, and then single stick markers identify all the other hours with a truncated one at the 6 o'clock position, given the fact that the date window is down there. You can see there are smaller stick markings towards the edge of the bezel, which denote each minute. Below the 12 o'clock markers is the word Oris, and then above the 6 o'clock position you can see the ProPilot X label and 5 days, which indicates the duration of the power reserve that the Calibre 400 provides. The watch hour and minute hands are in the pencil style, and they do feature lume. There is also lume on the minute markers that tie to each hour. They're somewhat raised. If I get in close, you might be able to see that. It's difficult because they're not particularly large. However, the instances of lume, be it the hands or be it the indices, in all cases, it's extremely poor. I assume this is due to the decision on this particular model to color the lume a sort of gray shade. Looks great in the daylight and in these indoor lighting situations that I'm trying to present to you here. However, it results in some pretty pitiful lume quality even when it's freshly charged as soon as it's put in the dark. I will go ahead and insert some footage here so you can see the lume in action after a fresh charge. The crown on this watch offers 4 positions. We are currently in position 0, which is when the crown is screwed into the case and the watch has its full 100 meters of water resistance. If we unscrew the crown, it will pop out into position 1. This is when the watch can be hand wound as such. We pull the watch crown out again, we'll be in position 2. This is when the date window can be quick set on the watch as such. And then pulling the watch out into the 4th position, which would be position 3 because we started with 0. The watch does hack at this point. You can see the seconds hand is no longer moving. And this is when we can actually set the time on the watch. Flipping the watch over, you can see that the watch has a sapphire display caseback, which shows off the Calibre 400 movement. This movement is an automatic in-house movement developed by Oris. It beats at 4 Hz, has 21 joules, and offers approximately 120 hours of power reserve. The movement finishing is perhaps best described as industrial. It looks better than something totally undecorated, but it's nothing really to write home about. Putting this watch on my time grapher, I got an average across all 6 positions of plus 5.16 seconds per day. The range of readings that I had were 0 seconds per day to plus 9 seconds per day. As such, rounding to the nearest second, my watch does stay just within the advertised accuracy of the Calibre 400, which is minus 3 to plus 5 seconds per day. The movement is also expected to only need servicing once every 10 years, which is one of the longest durations in the watch industry. Here is some footage of the watch on my 6.75-inch wrist. And here I'll go ahead and provide you some footage of me having this watch on outside so you can see it in some natural lighting. So what are my overall thoughts on this watch? I'd say the 4 main positives for me is the movement offers good accuracy with a very impressive power reserve. The watch is comfortable because it's quite lightweight. It's suitable to wear in a lot of different situations, dressed up or dressed down. And the movement requires very limited servicing needs. And 3 notable negatives I feel are the watch has terrible lume, it has no micro adjust for the bracelet, and the dial isn't really a Pilot watch dial. So, Oris lists this watch on their website currently for $4,300 US, but you can readily find it available under that price point. I'd say even unworn, you can find these watches for under $3,000. While I understand that some of the design elements on this ProPilot X continue on from Oris's older ProPilot watches, it's really not a Pilot's watch. And I'm okay with that, but the name can be really misleading, so I do want to note it as a negative. The dial, as you can see, is not designed for ease of reading. For example, there are no Arabic numerals aside from the date window to clearly indicate anything. So it doesn't align with that. It's clearly not a Flieger watch, either a Type A or a Type B. And it offers no functions for a Pilot, not even as simple as, say, a GMT, like we'd think with a Rolex GMT Master 2 as a sort of Pilot's watch. So the dial here is really what I would call a gotta design, or a go anywhere, do anything. And as I mentioned in my positives, you can dress it all the way up quite well, I feel, and you can dress it down really easily. It's a very subtle dial. And even if you wanted to make it more gentle, going away from the aggressiveness, just taking it off of the bracelet could achieve that. The closest this really gets to the Pilot aspects is some of the case design elements, like the jet turbine look to the bezel, and then the bracelet with the seatbelt-esque clasp. All the rest of this watch really is a positive for me. But I should note, I knew going in that the lume was really bad on the watch, and as I showed with the footage I dropped in, it's truly terrible. So this is not a watch to be read at the nighttime. Maybe some of the other colorations, the other colors of dial that came with different color lume, those might be better. But as you can see on this watch, there's not a lot of generous application of the lume, arguably aside from the hour and minute hands. So just don't expect a lot out of it. If it's a watch you're planning to look at a lot at night, you may want to look elsewhere other than this. So knowing that is key. Likewise, knowing that there's no micro adjust on the bracelet, I got it very comfortable. It feels great for me. So again, it's not a personal negative, but I do need to note it for those of you who are going out and shopping for one of these watches. But other than that, If you're looking for something that kind of can be worn in a lot of situations, if you want something really lightweight, I know some people really feel quality equates to heft. And so that can be an option, obviously, that is ruled out. If you need something heavier, you're going to want to turn to steel. But as someone who, for me, this is my first titanium watch, I love how lightweight it is. It's shockingly light to me compared to steel bracelet watches that I normally wear. So for me, that was a really strong positive. And of course, I do look forward to the fact that it has very limited servicing needs. I don't know very many brands that offer a 10-year service expectation on their watches. Rolex is the only other company that comes to mind. So that Oris is offering that on the Calibre 400, I think is very impressive, especially considering how relatively new this movement is. But that's it for this review video. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please do give it a like. That helps the channel out quite a bit. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to be automatically notified when I release new videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope everyone has a great day.